There's a town in Oklahoma I used to call home. Way out in the country where I used to roam. I think the history of Oklahoma is pretty rich. A lot of free thinkers.
We must have some 80 or 90,000 people here tonight. That's the most people that ever paid to see a politician.
You know, Will Rogers and Woody Guthrie, you know, they did things their own way.
I think of Oklahoma as being a place where the common man lives. They're real people and they care for each other.
They were pioneers. They're the kind of guys that they don't need the fancy stuff. I feel like noodlers are kind of that way, too.
You don't have to have that $35,000 bass boat. You don't even have to have a boat. You can just drive to the bank, wade out in the water, and you can get a bigger thrill out of that as anything you want.
You'll feel that catfish gnaw down on your arm and try to open your hand, get your fingers in its gills and pull it out. You know, I don't want to stick my hand in a catfish hole. You know, anything could grab you.
We kind of further the cowboy spirit here. Do things the cowboy way.
These fish are moving up into the shallows. They're coming in to spawn. And she's gonna lay that nest of eggs, and she's gonna guard them. And your job is to go through there and find that nest. And so they're extremely aggressive whenever you stick something up in there, and you're gonna get attacked, and you know that something's charging, really getting fired up, and it's fixing to hit.
You feel that whole rock lift up and fall back down all at the same time, and it's like, holy shit. It's just excitement. You know, it's adrenaline. There's nothing else like it.
It takes a little nerve to be a noodler. They're just a little different. The rest of us wish we had the nerve to do what they do all the time, but we don't always have that nerve.
They say no fear, but we all got fear. But that's the biggest danger in noodling, is drowning.
There are several dangers involved in the sport of noodling. You could reach in the hole and find yourself a snapping turtle, a beaver, a snake. And then there are situations where it doesn't matter how good you are, you could get in a bind where if you're gonna probably not be able to come up.
Oh, you okay?
Yeah, I'm gonna be.
I couldn't make it to the top, and I started to panic. My belt loop was hooked on a piece of bent rebar.
I was wondering if I was gonna be able to get my damn self out of there. What if something pins my hand and a rock falls off and I'm wedged under here and nobody knows where I'm at?
When the Indians used to fish the streams, they used to grind up green walnuts that kind of poisoned the water a little bit and made the fish kind of in a coma, and they'd go down and catch them by their hands.
The Trailer Tears pushed a lot of Indians here. We got the Osage, the Delaware, the Cherokee. When I pick up one of these rocks, I think, oh shit, you know, and you're always hoping it's gonna be a full airhead. And I'll hold it in my hand and I'll look at it. Hell yeah. I'll think, wonder who made this. I'm the first person that has touched this since he dropped it. I don't know which was the first Native American that went out and stuck his hand under a rock. I imagine it was just somebody walking along the bank and a fish come out and bit him out from underneath a rock one time, but they discovered that these things are under these rocks, that this hand fishing has been around forever, and it's just been passed down through generation through generation through generation.
State of Oklahoma right now, guaranteed great cowboy.
All my bloodlines are Cherokee that came from Georgia. You know, with my Indian heritage, well, now that's what fires through my veins. You know, the sport of rodeo and noodling, they're both big man events. They're both tough man events. You gotta be stout, you gotta be tough to do them both. You know, your noodlers are your good old boys. You know, they're policemen, they're firefighters, they're roughnecks. You know, the hardworking guys, you know, the rural people.
Okies are the common folks. They're not dumb. Sometimes they just don't let you know how smart they are until it's needed.
Hand fishing, noodling, whatever you want to call it, it's kind of a top secret sport. Me and my buddy was coming down the river one day and thought, oh, shit, man. I looked over at my buddy, I said, man, that's that frickin' Kaleb Summers.
Marion looked at us like he'd already been there, done it, seen it all, and looked at us like we was the new punk kids on the street. There was a disrespect there.
I wasn't too sure about that Kaleb Summers. He's just one of these young bucks with pretty hair. Kind of looks like Tarzan to me. He said he's only been hand fishing about 6 or 7 years, and I believe it. I've been doing it for going on 40-some years now. You got to be ready for the biggest fish in the river, or you ain't going to catch that big fish.
Because I knew how much work I'd put in it on my own, to learn it on my own. For Marion to look at me and discredit that in any way, and I knew that the day would come that I was going to challenge him.
I think the noodlers are like anybody else. They're competitive, and you got to have that competitive spirit. Of course, we see it all over, you know, on the golf course or riding a bicycle or in line. Nobody wants to be last in line. Everybody wants to be first. One tournament we always fish has always been the Okie Noodling tournament down Paul's Valley.
Marion, Kincaid, I've been competing against him since I first came to my first tournament. Nowadays, I beat him more than he beats me, but he's a hell of a fisherman. He strikes you as a typical noodler. He kind of has a scratchy voice. Hey, buddy! Kind of one of them don't mess with me kind of guys.
You know, when you're the new guy on the scene and you show up with a fish of the caliber that we brought in, haters gonna hate. You know, Marion especially.
Kaleb Summers, he brought the first fish ever over 70 pounds to the Okie Noodling tournament, which is basically like the Super Bowl of noodling, the biggest noodling tournament in the world.
I thought, well, who the hell is this? Because we'd never seen him at a tournament before.
Kaleb Summers, biggest fish!
There was a lot of skepticism about it. A lot of people, you know, they was doubting us.
He took our fame, you know, because we had been holding on to this, the biggest fish in Paul's Valley. He stole it right out from underneath us.
Marion, it aggravated him. You know, we knocked Marion right off the top.
Come on, Jesse. But I humbled myself, you know, into trying to be friends with the dude. There should be some flatheads below that dam right now.
And we started swapping some noodling stories back and forth. And I thought, you know, this might be a pretty good guy.
Oh, yeah, there's so much still full from yesterday. That's when I really started taking a different look at him. I thought, well, maybe this guy isn't quite the showboat. Maybe I'm the big asshole. Maybe I'm the showboat. The main reason we've never fished together is because we've all got our own partners, you know? We've always fished against each other, you know? We've kind of been rivals all this time.
You know, when the lights go out and you're swimming up under something, you really begin to trust that person.
I'll give you a minute. If you ain't up after a minute, I'll come down there.
You literally trust them with your life sometimes when they're shoving you by your feet up under a big cave.
Marion! 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 Marion!
Got him?
Get out here! I got him.
You just pull him out without stringing him? Yeah. Wrap your legs around him. Wrap your legs around him. Oh, yeah. Oh, hang on, Chris.
You could say it was a fading lifestyle that lost a lot of popularity because it was bred out of the generations.
I hope that by teaching them that they'll go ahead and pass it on down to their kids.
Now, I've got a son, you know, he's probably won't be able to stick him in a hole this year, but I got somebody I can pass this down to now.
You know, there's still that danger factor that a lot of people aren't willing to risk. And so that's, you know, there'll always be a lot more bass fishermen than there are noodlers.